let's start. Hey to everyone who was watching us. I'm Gabriel Araújo, coordinator of Cineclube Mocambo, and I'm here with Kahlil Pedizisai. I will ask you to pronounce it again.
It was perfect. Kahlil Pedizisai. Thank you for having me, Gabriel. Appreciate it.
I'm very happy with you here, Kahlil, and also very happy with your movie. I think that it adds, I don't know, a touch of beauty and love, like Lovelace, right? In our session in an interesting way. So first, I want to hear more about you. How can you present yourself for the people who are watching us?
Well, again, Gabriel, thank you for having me. When Madeline told me that that people in Brazil were going to look at this movie, I felt so deeply honored that I was able to make something that would encourage me to have a dialogue with other African people anywhere in the world. And, you know, to say that it's going to play in Brazil and it will have Portuguese subtitles. And that's something that's very powerful. And that is just quite an honor for me. So again, thank you for that first. If I was to talk about myself, I would talk about myself as a person who is committed to this storytelling tradition and of figuring out exactly where we are. And when I say we, I mean African people, where we are in the context of wherever we are. That's something that's run throughout all of my work. I've been working with film and video since, boy, it's a hard moment to say, but it's a beautiful moment. I've been working with film and video since 1991. I started early on as a photographer, and I was very lucky to, in 91, to meet a collective of people who were very committed to film and photography. And from that, they were people who became some of my closest friends, and they helped me build up to be the person that I am. And, you know, I think that it's important to just acknowledge them. Kevin Jerome Everson, Nick Charles, Nate Page, and my recently departed friend, Eric Dominique Brown, another filmmaker. And so I come from a tradition of people who think that there's both value in both the experimental and the commercial film world. And with that, it's so important to make work that speaks at all these different levels, and even most importantly, speaks to all of us, no matter where we are. And so now, as I'm at this point in my career where I'm developing more of an artistic practice that works from the position of that I need to make work with wherever I am, with whatever I can. And so with the film Lovelace, if I was to speak about that, I would say that it is a film that I wasn't expecting to make. I was expecting to attend a funeral for a dear friend, Michelangelo Lovelace, an artist who had reached the age of 60 and still had a long career ahead of him. His life was cut short by pancreatic cancer. And so I was expecting to go to that funeral and to just be overwhelmed by the tremendous loss of his artistic vision and the gift that he brought to us. And then the pastor started speaking. And with that, it became that we were going to make a film. And the thing that I had in my hand was simply an iPhone. And with that, I knew that that I had to record those moments and bring those forth to share with everyone what a commitment he had made to the telling of our story. And then at the same time, the commitment he had made to being a productive person who could both maintain a career for longevity in spite of whatever the odds were, and his willingness to go the course. So I like to think that that I'm cut from the same cloth, and I'm trying to work in that same tradition.
That's great, Kahlil. And I don't know, it is a very beautiful movie. Like, I was talking to you earlier, right? When we are beginning to talk to exhibit this movie here, that we made a first session in September that is called like Talks Around Death, something like this. Conversa sobre a morte in Portuguese. So with this session, we're trying to address a discussion around death, around, especially in the kind of violence that, I don't know, it happens with a lot of different Black people around the world, but also tries to get this discussion to light up some energy of resistance, of love, like Lovelace bring to us. So I think that is a great way to start our second session right here in October, just because of this. First of all, the pastor, the words that he say, right? Like, I think that is very beautiful, the way that he emulates a form of, how do I say this? I don't know, he plays with the words love and lace and loved by the lace and art and everything that Michelangelo does or did, and creates a very, very peaceful, I guess, moment when we, I don't know, even if we don't know the person, we feel connected to this in some point and somehow. And I don't know, you just started right now talking about this, but I was trying to hear a little bit more about that, about what's, how do I say, it's not the challenge of the filming, but how to translate, no, to transpose, I guess. Do you understand? Okay.
I do. Yeah. You know, that's what was so important for me about this film, was the language that he used. The language was so aware of the context of both Michelangelo's life, and at the same time, he was so aware of the hurt that was in the room because of his death. But then he tied it to this larger tradition, which is that even in the moments of our greatest pain, that there's something beautiful and loving that should be recognized and lifted up in that way. Yeah. And with that, what he did was he took Michelangelo's name that, I suppose in a way, when he was a young boy, people teased him about, you know, and he showed how here was a man who came from a very poor background, and he committed his life to art. He committed his life to art when all these factors of life under a white supremacist system is against him, right? And with that, he carried this notion that he was going to make a statement in the world and show something about our existence. And with that, he began to work very diligently and built this visual language that you see in all of his paintings, that showed our story. And in him showing our story in that way, it gave us a clear vision of who we are, a clearer vision of who we are, what it is that the conditions that we exist in, the things that bind us together, the things why we love ourselves, the things that are painful, the things that are beautiful, the things that are sad. It really put us in touch with our humanity. You know, Gabriel, so often, I think the thing that is so strong in the language in this piece is Michelangelo's willingness to work, to hold space in a room when you know, he went to art school and they said at art school that there wasn't a place for him. And so many of us die these small deaths, these acts that in ways kill us, kill our spirit, you know? And so this idea that no matter what, we persevere, that the entry point for that place isn't necessarily the entry point for where we have to go. And he continued making work all throughout this. I have to give you some background on Michelangelo. I met Michelangelo in 1991. He came to live in a school building that I lived in. They had made these apartments in the city for artists. And he came to live in the same school building as I did and several of our friends. And in that school building, Michelangelo moved in, and all you could see is canvas everywhere and paint everywhere. And we would see this man go to work. He worked in a hospital as a person who moved patients around the hospital. An orderly is what it's called, yes. And he would go to work in his nurse outfit, and then he would come home and put on his painting clothes. Sometimes you would see his nurse outfits would have paint on them because he was always painting. He continued that process for years, and I saw him struggle to develop his style and to develop what it was he was going to paint about. He was told by art school that there wasn't a place for him. He was told by other people that they didn't like this aspect of his work. They didn't like that aspect. And so he was struggling for a long time. And it wasn't until recently that I heard a podcast where he said that that him and I were having a conversation, and he asked, he was showing me his work, and he was telling me how much he was struggling over it. And I said, well, Michael, like, you know, if you ask me, I think you should just open up the window, look out your window, which was overlooking the African-American community there, and you should just paint what you see. And when he said that in the podcast, it was a very emotional moment for me, because little do you know, like a small word or two that you say to someone will have such an impact. But then even more importantly, it meant that he had he felt that there was something of value in that. And in turn, it enabled him to see his artwork in another way. And just that small little act, along with his already persistence and hard work, gave him a view to see the world and to be a person who was committed to creating that vision. So it's even though the film has in it the death of Michelangelo, and it's at his funeral, I want to be very clear that
Of life, right?
yes, it's his life. It's his life. It's about work. It's about his ability to persevere. It's about the love of family.
Yes.
It's about the love of the community. It's about it's about victory. Victory, yeah.
It's a beautiful moment, right in the end of the movie, like one girl takes the mask off her face and kisses the another one. It's a simple gesture, but it shows us a lot of what is happening right here.
Yes.
And I was thinking how to portray this. Like you say a few things about the visual of painting of Lovelace. So how you properly painted your own movie on this way, like the choices for black and white, the slow movement, and the background voice. How did you get to this form?
So I think that the piece that I tend to work in layers. I tend to work from first the idea of like, well, the element, what is it that I have? And then from there, after I look at those things, then I make the very quick aesthetic choices. The speech, of course, I should say the eulogy, the pastor's words I sat through, and then for everything else, it was a matter of letting it happen much slower so that I could feel it. Gabriel, you talk about the moment of where the gesture is that the woman, she takes down her mask and she kisses the elderly woman in her family on the cheek. And that moment, it was such a quick moment, but it was such a powerful moment that if I had played it in real time, it wouldn't have happened. You know, we wouldn't have been able to see it, but to actually slow it down enabled us to see it. And in these times of COVID, I'm certain has impacted your community there just as much as it's impacted the African-American community in Ohio and throughout the country and throughout the world, yes? So to be able to watch that and to see that tenderness, it was something that required that we slow this down in a world where everything is moving so quickly and the trauma is so heavy. I just wanted to, I like the process of slowing things down to really engage them and to sit back and to let things wash over me. You know, I like to work in small ways like that where I can take and build upon layers and to visually really let my eye and just wander. Let's see what's here and let's fully experience it. Yeah.
Happened, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, Kahlil. And now let's, I don't know, maybe we can talk a little bit about art and cinema in general. You do talk in the first of your talk, I guess, anyway. Mm-hmm. Did you say that you work with a group of people in both commercial, independent, experimental cinema? How do you see this happening today with your work, Kevin Charon's work, and another one, people, African-American, who make cinema in the United States today?
Yeah, you know, I think this is probably one of the most exciting times to be looking and participating in this art form since I've been around. You know, very often I think people say things like, oh, they don't know what's happening with the kids, you know, like they don't know what's happening with young people. They're doing this different. Why don't they do this? And I completely disagree with that. I just love the innovation that I see. I love the different focuses that I see. I love all these levels of voices that are coming forward. It's an exciting time because what it means is that more people are speaking and more people are being heard and more people are looking. And probably the best part about it for me is that I believe that the way that we solve so much of what it is that we see, that we identify as problems is that we meet people from different places. You know, we understand both what makes us the same, what makes us different, but at the end of it, we understand that we're all human, you know? And so I love the new work that we're seeing from everywhere. You know, that's so important. I think that looking around, I'm out in Los Angeles now, looking around at these at younger filmmakers. Their palette is so different in terms of colors. Their subject matter is so different. But I think that even within it, that those differences, that it's just a great time. So yeah.
It's also a thing that we are seeing here. Like, it is the first time that we make the Cineclube Mocambo, right? Like the first season, let's say this way. So in this first beginning, which we're trying to get different of approaches around the world, and I don't know, really focusing on this contemporary production, but trying to, I don't know, make something combined together, something from Brazil, of course, but also from Latin America, from Europe, and from other places. And it is very rich. It is very rich, right? Yes. It is very rich and very powerful what Black creators are doing right now. It is something that in this research have me impressed in a very beautiful way. And right there in United States, I guess it's just as curiosity, but how BLM, Black Lives Matter, right, impact the productions here after George Floyd's, after the manifestations and everything. So
yeah, that's a great question, Gabriel. The presence of Black Lives Matter, the push for speaking to the systemic violence that African people live under in the United States has been crucial. But the thing that I've noticed that there is a clear line that so many Black filmmakers are taking, which is that we are greater than just the trauma. That there is something greater at stake than just the highlighting of the abuses. It's something that is about this explosion of joy, this explosion of people wanting to build communities. Things like that have the greater value than just us documenting these cases of or making work that deals with this level of individual, or not individual, but these cases of just violence against Black people. You know, that it's very clear that people want to make work that shows us not only as active in resistance, but active in pleasure, active in joy, active in community. This idea that everything has to end with Black death, I think is something that there's a struggle around, that this space of allowing just our death to be the only thing that brings us together is something that we're struggling against. And we're building a vision that's bigger than just this brutality that encompasses so many of our lives. Yeah.
I don't know if you know, Kahlil, but Mocambo, it is a word that comes from Kikongo, and in Brazilian, I don't know, Brazil colony, and this time of Portuguese and administration here in Brazil, and slavery and what else. It is a word that is used to call the places where fugitive slaves people reunited together. So it is a word that we bring from the past just right now to film this idea of community, of joy, of aquilombamento. That is a word that we say here in Brazil. That, I don't know, because together we can create something new, né? Always. And maybe my next question, I guess, the future. What are you planning? What are your goals for today and for tomorrow? How do you see this production going?
Wow.
Well, question.
First of all, let me just say I completely completely embrace Mocambo. That is such a beautiful tradition. And to that, I say right on, right on. Yeah, so yeah, that's, what's the future? What is the future? The future right now looks like more collaborative works with Kevin Jerome Everson, Claudrina Harold. It looks like the production of a few small films for myself, dealing with the aftermath of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in these out of the way places. What happened in those places after King was killed? Yeah, that's where I am. It's a slow, hard process for me sometimes, because I suppose I suffer from this tendency to read a lot, to think slowly, to
It's good.
yes, and to try to build up the visual style that I want to be incorporated into pieces. And so it takes me a while, but I'm in the trenches, you know. I'm here and I'm willing to do the work to get to the finished pieces. So it's a slow process, but yes, it's more about creating work that deals both with the past as well as building something, a small project that I want to work on that has to do with what is the future, what is the story of the future. And it's going to be a real challenge for me, because I've never projected what the future was before. And as we were talking earlier, Gabriel, and you mentioned Black Lives Matter, I think that's what I found to be so powerful about Afrofuturistic work, is that it envisioned us in the future, you know. And that is something that if you're a student of history, in some ways, you tend to look at the book, you tend to look at the papers, you tend to look at those things, at the films, but you rarely envision what the future will be, other than just a simple recreation of the violence and the oppression that's happened all along. So that's probably the biggest project for me, a vision of the future. Yes.
Very anxious to see it.
Good.
But I guess this is it, Kahlil. I
Yeah.
don't know, you do want to talk something that I didn't mention? Or
Yeah, you know, Gabriel, I think that I just want to encourage everyone who has an artistic vision to do it. I'm just choked up. To just whatever tools you have at hand, to grab them. Yeah, to grab them and work with the people around you and make a vision. You know, it's a very, I'm sorry, Gabriel, I'm sorry. It's a very tough moment, because for so many of us in my collective, because we're realizing that that an opportunity has passed with the passing of Eric Dominique Brown. And you often think that there is going to be enough time to make these projects that you plan for and that you have on the back burner. You're waiting for the perfect time. And I'm just going to encourage everyone to, whatever you do, whatever your plans are, to do them now, to execute them as soon as possible, and to make the work, study the work, present the work to the world, and move on to the next thing. You know, because that's how we build both a presence. That's how we build both an understanding of our world. And most importantly, that's how we change the world, is by presenting our ideas and activating people all around us. So to that, Gabriel, again, thank you. And thank your organization for playing this film in Brazil. I can't even tell you how much it just touched my heart to hear that you were going to do it, and then to receive your email. It was just a beautiful thing. And, the brothers and sisters there, make space, I'll see you in the Mocambo. Thank you.
Thank you, Kahlil. It is a very beautiful message, but thank you a lot. It was great, I guess. And I guess this is it.
Yes.
Thank you for whoever was watching this. And I don't know, we keep conversating, right?
Yeah, let me always, I always have to give a shout out, and I miss it sometimes, but I always mean to. I always want to give a shout out to the folks both in the States who are filmmakers, my mentors, Austin Allen, Haile Garemba, people who are like putting it on the line, Bradford Young, Terrence Nance, so many other people, Colleen Smith, and then, overseas as well, in the UK, the people who really excited me when I was young and inspired me in so many ways. I always have to acknowledge the Black Audio Film Collective, a very powerful force visually and thematically. Their work still inspires me, even though now they've transformed into Smoking Dog Films. So to John, David, Lena, Ashti, everyone there. Yeah, that's who inspires me. Yeah. So again, thank you so much, Gabriel.